Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is AJ and I am going to interview the King of Idera. We are going to explain to you all about the Ladi Tiger Rural Development Foundation and all of the things that you all could possibly do to help this dream come to fruition. Let me introduce to you first King James Oladipo Buremoh, the King of Idera. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Proud to have you here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Chief Johnson.
Thank you, thank you. I was granted the title of Chief, and my chief name is R.A. Bobagua.
Are Bobagua of Idera Kingdom.
Yes, sir. The king was nice enough to give me a title.
You deserve it.
Thank you, sir. And explain to everyone what that title means.
Well, that title means the chief that sits on the throne with the king. And guess what? He's sitting right there with me now.
I feel very special. I'm honored to
You're most welcome.
have such a title. So this video, the purpose of this video is to tell everyone all about the foundation, the purpose of it, how we're going about generating funds for it, and making this dream come true. And so I will let the king start off and tell us all about it.
Well, thank you very much, Chief Amos Johnson.
Yes.
The Are Bobagua of Idera Kingdom.
Yes.
My names are, just like he has said, His Royal Highness Oba James Oladipo Buremoh, Ajagungbade I, the Onidera of Idera Kingdom. Idera Kingdom is in Ilere district of Ifelodun local government area in Kwara State in Nigeria.
And was this where you were born and raised?
I was actually born in Ibaja. Ibaja is another kingdom not too far away from mine. My father went there on a sojourn, and he was there while I was conceived and delivered.
Mm-hmm. And from there?
And from there, you're talking about me, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I attended primary school, which is elementary school in Ibaja. And from there, I went to high school in Orago, that's another kingdom. And, in 1977, after graduating from high school, I decided, hey, I wanted to come to the United States.
Now, what brought you to the United States?
I actually came to the United States to go to school.
Okay.
I attended Columbus College in Georgia. From 1977 to 1981. And, I studied business administration. Upon graduation, while I was in school, I was an all-rounder in sports. Even while I was in high school back home, I participated in all kinds of sports. And while I was in university, I was always lifting weights. I was always in the gym. I played soccer. I didn't play American football while I was, in Nigeria. So after graduation, I, relocated to Houston, Texas. And I worked a little bit for Shell Oil in Deer Park, Texas. All that while I was still in the gym lifting weights, so I was always buffed up, and I loved wrestling. I loved to watch wrestling.
Now, with that in mind, because there may be someone out there who thinks they recognize you. So what I'm going to tell the folks to do, because this is also going to give some legitimacy to what it is you've done.
That's right.
During part of your life. If you were to Google Ladi, spelled Ladi, the African Tiger. You will be amazed at what you will find. Now, tell them what they will find.
Well, I used to go watch wrestling at the arena in Houston, Texas. Every week, like every other week, they came and they wrestled. And I used to go to the arena in my tank tops. I was huge. Mm-hmm. And so one of those days, the Mid-South Wrestling was owned by Big, they call him the Big Cowboy, Bill Watts. Mm-hmm. Him and Wahoo McDaniel. And so I was at the arena, and the big cat, Ernie Ladd, was there. And I was down on the floor, and he saw me. And he was like, wait a minute, you look buffed. And I just laughed, and he said, hey, wait a minute, I detected an accent. And I told him, yeah, I was from Nigeria. And he was like, no, wait a minute. Why won't you become a wrestler? Come on, become a wrestler. I told him, no. I wasn't going to become. I was scared of wrestling. I thought it was, very, very, very dangerous, which it is. And so he told me, he said, well, why don't you just think about it? And the next time we'll come, we'll talk about it. So the following month, when they came, I went to the arena. And he told me, he said, if you are from Nigeria and you speak English this good, why don't we just train you and let you become a wrestler? That was during the days of Kamala, the Ugandan giant. Mm-hmm. Kamala never spoke. He always had his sidekick. And so he said, come on, let's train you. So I agreed. So I went to training school for 9 months. And voila, I got a license and I started wrestling. Mm. And, I wrestled for, 8.5 years. And while it lasted, it was incredible. I wrestled all over the United States, in Nigeria. And it was during the era of, all these incredible wrestlers, Michael Hayes, the Freebirds, Ernie Ladd, the Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it while it lasted.
Now, you actually forgot one that I remember, the Junkyard Dog.
Oh, my God. The Junkyard Dog, Hacksaw Butch Reed, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jake the Snake Roberts. You can name them all. We were in the same era.
And again, if you Google Ladi, L-A-D-I, the African Tiger, you will see this for yourself. There's still some video footage out there that shows you in the ring.
Well, I glorify God. I thank God that I'm still alive. A lot of my colleagues are gone. They're gone to, far beyond. But God wanted me, kept me here because of what I'm doing now. And I thank God for it.
Now, that brings me to the question of, how do you go from a world famous wrestler to becoming the king of Idera?
Well, it's a very, very long story. But I'm going to, break it up. I am the last born of 9 children, of Chief Robert Babalola Buremoh, who was the firstborn of Pastor Abraham Buremoh. And Pastor Abraham Buremoh, before he was converted to Christianity, was a blacksmith. And in 1890, the first, missionaries that came to our area, in Okeonya, they called it. They went out there. They used to live on top of the mountains, back then, because of the marauders that used to, come looking for slaves. And so they were on a high elevation. So when they're looking down, they can see them coming and attack or run to hide. And so the missionaries went up there. And my grandfather was a blacksmith. He had a hut in the evening where he does his thing, makes his figurines, hoes and cutlasses and all that. And in the evenings, people gather around there, drink palm wine and enjoy themselves. So the missionaries that were looking to convert people to Christianity saw an opportunity to grab the head. Once you captured the head, the whole body would follow.
Exactly.
And they saw my grandfather as like the leader of the people out there. And they figured if they convert him to Christianity, they'll be able to get the others. So they now went at him with Psalm 115. Psalm 115 reads, they have eyes, they can't see, they have nose, they can't breathe, they can't have mouth, they can't talk. They have ears, they can hear. He who makes them is just like them.
Uh-huh.
And they told him, they said, wait a minute, you're making these figurines that these people are worshiping. And so what makes you think they're not worshiping you? So and he thought about it, and that was how he got converted to Christianity. And they took him to a seminary. There was a seminary in a town named Agunji. They took him to the seminary there. They trained him, and they changed his name from Buremoh Ogunshola to Pastor Abraham Buremoh, and he became an evangelist. So he did all that. He was evangelizing throughout the whole district. He went through other kingdoms and all that. And he had some of his children follow him. My father was a contractor. That was his trade. He builds houses and, does construction. But his siblings, his junior brothers, two of them followed my grandfather around. What he did was he derived the means, of livelihood. He had cattle. And he will rear cattle all the way from the top of the mountain, go to different kingdoms and evangelize and preach. And he'll save lives, he'll convert people to Christianity. And then by the time he goes around and comes back, it might be almost a year before he gets back to Okeoye. So in the 1940s, he felt like, wait a minute, he was getting old. And because of the topography going up and down the mountain, the wear and tear took the toll on his body, and he decided, okay, why don't I talk to, these people and have them, maybe we can settle on the flat ground, and then we'll be able to start a kingdom. And he discussed with a lot of his colleagues, a lot of converts and everything, and they agreed that they were going to go ahead and settle. So sometime, I think it was April 1948, almost exactly to the day when the modern day Israeli state was made. That was when they founded their community. And the most interesting thing about it is they founded it on prayer, on Christianity. And him being a pastor, he was the leader of the expedition. He was the one that brought all of them there. And they were rejoicing. They prayed, and they were rejoicing that, okay, they founded this community. They haven't named it. And during the time that they were rejoicing, a lot of people, they said there was an old man that came. And he asked them, what are you guys doing? Why are you in such a festive mood? What's going on here? And they said, well, they're trying to find the community. And he said, have you named it? They said, no. I said, well, why don't you name it Idera? And Idera, means the place of peace, the place of support, the place where you can really find peace. And everybody shouted, yeah, that's it. They agreed to name it Idera. But then the miracle was that as soon as they agreed to name the community, the man just moved out of the crowd and disappeared. Up till this day, nobody knew who he was. Nobody know who he was. And so the saying is that it was an angel that came and named that community. And the community grew. It was just the envy of everybody. People from all over will come to Idera and enjoy themselves. And, my grandfather, ruled the community for 7 years, after the founding. And he died in 1955. And before he died, they had an agreement of how, succession, was going to be. And so they agreed that his friend, a friend of, his, where they came from in Okeoye, there were 3 ruling houses. There's Ola, which is Onya. There's Jadwala, which is my family, and there's Ikota, which is my mother's ruling house. So I'm born royalty from two ruling houses. My father is royalty. My mother is royalty. Where they came from. So Onya, which was a friend of his, took over the leadership after my grandfather died. And everything went perfectly. I mean, the community prospered, there was growth, there was everything. But then, after he passed away in 1979. And I had left Nigeria for America in 1977. And, after he passed away, it was the turn of my family, Ijadwala, to, ascend the throne. But then, for some reason, my father, who was supposed to have, ascended the throne, the people in the community said they didn't want him because he was rigid. I mean, he was very rigid. He wouldn't compromise. And they wanted now to go back to where they were before they were converted to Christianity. And they started, they want to start paganism all over again. And they knew my father was not going to agree. So they conspired against him, and for one reason or another, they now went to my mother's royal house to pick a king, who was my uncle, my mother's immediate junior brother. And they put him there, and my father was, aggrieved, and, he decided, well, wait a minute, why would you do this? And that one is a long story. My uncle was there until 2003, and he passed on in 2003. And in 1994, on the 26th of May 1994, after I had become a wrestler and come back to Nigeria, I started wrestling in Nigeria. I was a popular president, Ladi the African Tiger. I was like Hulk Hogan in Nigeria.
Yes.
My father now told me that, son, he said, well, do you know why they passed us by? That we didn't ascend the throne. I said, well, the community said they didn't want you. And he said, no, I mean, it wasn't his right to ascend the throne. I'm like, what do you mean? You're the firstborn of the person that founded the community. So why are you going to tell me that it wasn't your right to ascend the throne? He said, the person that was supposed to ascend the throne was not ready. That was why he made sure that he fought for it. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was then that he told me that, it wasn't his place, that my grandfather, had a wish, from the beyond, that he wanted to, make sure that, the community is in good hands, and that he wanted to come back and continue the job that he started. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So he said, as far as I'm concerned, you are going to ascend the throne. I said, well, Dad, wait a minute. Don't you remember that I'm your last born?
Yeah.
I am the baby of 9 children. He said, yeah. Don't you remember the story of Joseph in the Bible? Joseph, became, the head. He became the head over his brothers. And he said, when it was our turn to ascend the throne, you weren't ready. But then by the time you came back, it was our turn. So now, you got to take it up. So I told him, I said, no, I wasn't going to. It was time for me to rest after I had gotten hurt, because, I got out of wrestling because I got hurt, broke my neck in 1989. So I decided that was it. So he told me, so if you enter the ants hill, you're going to become king. So in 1999, I ran away. That was when I ran back to the U.S. I ran back to the U.S. I went to New York, and in New York I looked for a place where the proximity between Nigeria and between Lagos and the U.S. would not be too far, so that I could be able to go back and see my children. And so I got a job driving a bus. I was driving a double-decker bus in New York. And my father died about 4 months later after he found out that I had escaped. So In 2003, my brothers wanted me to come home so that we can do the final rites for my mother and father together. So I agreed. 6 days before I arrived in Nigeria, my uncle, who was the king, passed away.
Wow.
Something that I ran away from, for how many years? Now happened 6 days before my arrival. I didn't have a choice, I went. And immediately after we did the burial outing and all that, the people in the community, they demanded that it was me that would ascend the throne. And I told them, I said, well, I don't do anything. I don't take any decision without consulting with God. And that was what I did. We prayed about it. And God said, I want to use you as a beacon of light over that community. And during the time my uncle was there, unfortunately, it was total degradation. There was nothing that happened in there. I mean, no water, no electricity, no good roads, nothing. No hospital. The dispensary that was, constructed by my father, became dilapidated, and there was nobody to really do anything about it. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? I didn't have a choice. I had to take it up. And it's been, so I became the king in 2004. And I thank God for the grace. Because it had been a difficult journey. But, they say on easy lies the head that wears the crown. But with God's grace and with the help of God and my friends, here we are today.
Now, that's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Being the king.
Yeah.
You have a lot of decisions to make.
Well, everybody in the communities, in the kingdom, are your children. Both old and young. You are, completely in charge and you're responsible for them.
There was something that I heard you say that, to me, speaks volumes of the man you are, and really got my utmost respect for you. And you were telling someone, because kings are supposed to be rich and just have lavish everything, this, that, and the other. And you said that I am only as rich as my poorest soul.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm a servant leader. I don't see myself as a king. I see myself as a servant leader. Ever since I ascended the throne, I always told them, do as I do, not do as I say. And everybody knows, they know me for that. Like I said, I was driving a bus.
Yes.
And everybody kept saying, well, how can a king be driving a bus? I mean, people saw me in New York, and some Nigerians saw me, and they decided to go and report me to the consulate.
Yeah, because
they said I was desecrating NBC, the television network. Somebody was on my bus one day, and the tour guide was telling the tourists that our driver used to be a professional wrestler, and now he's a king. And everyone said, how can a king be driving a bus? So after the tour, it's about a 3-hour tour, the tourists came down. They came off the bus, and then they saw me. There were two tourists there, one female, one male. And both of them came down, and they looked at me, and one said, oh my God, Uncle Ladi. He recognized me. He was from Lagos. And I just looked at him and smiled. I said, you have become king? And he prostrated. And the girl knelt down. And all the other tourists come in, they were like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But there was a man, among the tourists. He came to me and he asked me, he said, was she telling the truth? Were you really a wrestler? Are you really a king? I told him, yeah. And this was in 2009. My coronation was in 2008. In my box, I had the pamphlet of my coronation, in my bag. So I took the pamphlet out and I showed it to him. And he was like, wait a minute. So she was telling the truth. Why haven't somebody put you on television? I said, well, I don't have the contacts. He said, well, just give me your name. So I gave him my name. I took his card. And I saw his name. It was Marvin Albert. And I was like, Marvin Albert. So I thought about it. I knew that name rang a bell, but I still didn't, I still couldn't figure it out. So I forgot about it. About 3 weeks later, the company calls me, it's a Gray Line, New York sighting. They called me from the office there and they told me, they said, because I had told them I was, I had explained to them that it made me king back home. And they were like, how can you be king when you never told us you were a prince? I said, well, I didn't have to. I said, bam, what humility. So he went to them and Marvin Albert now went to NBC. He went to NBC and anonymously told them that there was a king driving the tour bus. Mm-hmm. So NBC went to Gray Line and they called me one day and asked me what time will I come to work. I said, I usually come to work at 11 o'clock because I have to talk to my people at home because there's a 6-hour difference, in the morning before I, come. So I usually come to work at 11 and work until 11, 12 o'clock at night, And they said, okay, be at the office in Times Square. Be at the office at 11 o'clock. I'm like, okay. I said, but why would you say that? Because I usually come to work anyway. And they said, well, NBC wants to interview you. I said, NBC? For what? They said, well, we don't know. I was a little bit apprehensive, I didn't know what to expect. So I got to work. I got there, the tour bus, a brand new tour bus was in front of the office. And I saw this whole press crew. And I was shaking, shaking to my boots. And they came running. Oh, you're the king? I said, what's going on? Then they told me, they said, if you don't want to be interviewed, we understand, but we were told anonymously that there was a king driving the tour bus and, it's something that is difficult to believe. And that's why we decided to come and find out. So I told them I was a king. And I explained how it happened, everything that happened. They told me, well, it's going to be on the news at 6 o'clock tonight. So you better wait. I'm like, what? On what news? I mean, the network news. That was in 1989, August 1989. But you know what they did?
What's that?
As soon as they finished the interview, they went to the Nigerian consulate in New York. Ooh. They went straight to the Nigerian consulate to confirm whether it was true or not. And so they saw the consul and they asked him, they told him about what they have said and then they were going to put it on the news that night. And he told them, please, that they should allow him to investigate in Nigeria first. They said, well, we'll give you 6 hours. He told them, please give me 24 hours. They said, no, we'll give you 6 hours. But the protocol is he has to call Abuja. Abuja is the national headquarters. Abuja will now call Kwara State. Kwara State will now investigate and then report back to Abuja, and then Abuja will report back to the consulate. But then he decided, to boycott Abuja. He called Kwara State directly. Mm-hmm. And the chief of staff picked the phone. The chief of staff to the governor picked the phone. He happened to be one of my honorary chiefs. His name was Ladi Hassan. And he picked the chief and the phone. And the consul asked him, do you have a community named Idera, a kingdom named Idera? He said, yeah. Do you know the name of the king? And the guy, the chief of staff, rather than telling him James Buremoh, the first thing he thought about was African tiger. Ladi African tiger. So he told him, yeah, Ladi African tiger. And the consul said, Ladi African tiger. Wait a minute. The same Ladi African tiger that used to wrestle in the 80s? He said, yeah. Do you know where he is now? He said, yeah, he's in New York. Because the guy knew exactly where it was. Because it's the governor that usually give me the leave of absence before I can travel out. And, so the consul said, don't worry about it. He dropped the phone. He called NBC and said, air the news. He aired the story. 6 o'clock that night, it was on network news. And so New York Magazine found out about it, and they decided they wanted to come interview me. Where else? If you Google that too, where else can a king drive in a tour bus except in New York? It's if you Google that, you'll find that out too. They were doing that comparison in 2009 where Hillary Clinton was the senator, and Madonna was there, and then where else will a king be driving a tour bus except in New York? So the New York Magazine aired it, and it went from one thing to another, and Tiki Barber found out about it, and he decided, he wanted to do a documentary by me, and he sent, some brothers, the Hennigan brothers, to come look for me. So they came, they looked for me, they interviewed me, and they actually came to Nigeria to confirm whether this thing was true or not. They went to the government. They spent 2 weeks in their kingdom with me, and up till now, this is still in the works. It hasn't come to fruition, but one of these days, I'm hoping that documentary will get done. But that was how I became king. Whatever I made from here, I took home. I took care of my family. I took care of my community. We provided water. Renovated the dispensary. Renovated the classrooms. We do the electricity. We have incessant electrical power outages, and so I decided, hey, wait a minute, why don't we go for solar lights? And with the help of some of my chief friends, some of my friends here in the U.S. who contributed money, they raised money for me. We went out there and installed solar lights in the community, and it's been a great ride so far. And I just thank God for what He has been able to do through me. And He has blessed me a great deal, because I really don't want for anything, because I have an incredible wife who is my sister, my mother, everything all rolled up in one. She has been so supportive from day one, and without her, I'm sure, I know I wouldn't have been able to, do what I have done. So I really glorify God for sending her into my life. My children, a lot of my children are here now in the United States. They went to school. I mean, they pacified. They really went through a lot, because I didn't have that much time to even spend with them, because the responsibility of being a king. But I have some of them that are here now that are pharmacists.
Exactly. Now, how many kids?
Well, I have 10 children altogether.
10?
Yeah.
10?
Yeah.
And I'm the youngest is?
The youngest is 18, going on 19 now. She's actually a freshman at the University of Louisville.
So we're talking all of your children are college educated?
Yeah.
Degree?
Yes, sir.
This is quite a feat.
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. God did it.
Yeah.
God did it. It's not by my power, but by His. By the glory of God.
That's a beautiful story there. That is. Now, the entire story, it rings of something a lot of folks have seen on the big screen.
Oh, Coming to America.
Yes, yes, sir.
Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arsenio Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yes. It has all kinds of the little spills of that in there, in the story.
Yeah.
And, wow, that's quite a story.
Well, I thank God.
That's quite a story.
I thank God for the journey so far.
Well, what you are wanting to do with the foundation is hopefully be able to generate some revenue to help out the kingdom.
Yeah.
And right now, I understand that the government gives a little something, but really doesn't give enough to really do a whole lot with. And it's not like in America where we pay taxes, and so our tax dollars make roads and things like that.
That's right.
You're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
And so any help that you get
goes a very long way.
Yes. So the purpose of the foundation is to be able to generate that revenue.
That's right.
And build up the kingdom. And the thing about it is, not only do the people in your kingdom benefit, but
And
the
all
surrounding,
kingdoms.
yes.
See, the thing about it is, once I became the servant leader, I met some other kings, in the surrounding, kingdoms, and we worked together to make sure that we'll cooperate in development of our communities. Like the road that leads to my community, it passes through about 7 different kingdoms before it gets to mine. Mm-hmm. And it was nothing to write home about. The government, Nigeria is a very rich country, but unfortunately we have problem with leadership. Our governor right now, Governor Buremoh, he really tried a lot. He really tried a lot. I've been there. I've been on the throne 18 years, going on 19 now, and just like I had told you, he was the first governor since 1984 that visited my community. Mm-hmm. Why did that happen? There was this lady, Adiola Fayon. He was a blogger, and she found out about what I did, and in 2021, I had surgery in New York, and I was on my way to Louisville here when she called me and said she wanted to interview me. She did, and she just asked me a couple of questions. Then she told me she had all the material she needed online, and so she asked me if I was on Instagram. I told her I didn't know anything about Instagram. She said, "Well, why don't you ask one of your kids to open an Instagram page for you?" So I did, and that was on a Friday. By Sunday, my daughter had opened the Instagram page for me. By Sunday, my phone just went crazy. I know what's going on. What's this? It's just between Sunday morning and up to when she did the broadcast, and maybe 4 or 5 hours, I already had like 2,000 followers. I'm like, what is going on? I didn't really see the broadcast until she sent it to me, the podcast. And she sent it to me, and I was like, oh my God, So if you Google, Ladi the African Tiger, you're going to see that podcast, on YouTube. And that was how everything went haywire. Everything went crazy. And so the road that leads to my community, every year I used to rent a grader and bulldozer to grade it, so that during the holidays people will be able to go home freely and all that. And I did that for quite a number of years, to the point when it was too difficult for one person to do anymore, because during the rainy season, the flood would just go. So it got to a point when even the bridges that leads to the community, you can't even pass it anymore unless you have a Jeep, unless you have a four-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. So my community, they are peasant farmers, and they basically produce gari, that's cassava flakes. And so it came to a point when I was using my Toyota Sequoia to carry, because it's a foreigner, to carry their products out so they can sell. And so when this lady did that, and she pleaded with the government to please, why don't you look into the road and tie the road for us? And that was how, why I still respect, my governor up till today, because he just came unannounced. The first time a sitting governor will visit my community, since 1984, and he came and saw me, and what are you doing here? He said, I found out about who you are, but how can you come and sit in this kind of place? I said, it's my destiny, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't run away from what God wanted me to do. Just like Jonah. God yes. sent Jonah to Nineveh. He was going to go to Tarshish, and God said, hey, wait a minute. If you're going to run away, I'm going to send you something that's going to bring you back out. So he went into the water, and the fish got him and put him on the beach of Tarshish. He ended up doing what God wanted him to do. The same thing with me. If I had run away and decided I wasn't going to do it, then God might end up punishing me, and I didn't want that. So I decided to oblige, and here I am today. In New York in 2009, I had some of my friends there, and I gave them honorary chieftaincy titles, and they were elated. And in turn, they decided they were going to help me to build the community. So with their help, we were able to provide, portable drinking water, provide lights, we were able to do things about the road and all that. So the governor came and he saw, and so he asked me, he said, what are you doing? I said, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then he said, I saw the podcast of this lady. Everything she said is true. I can see cashew, I can see the roads are bad, I can see the lights that you have done, I can see the water, I can see it. But, this road, I'm going to make sure I fix it. And he left. Would you believe 5 days later, he awarded the road to be fixed. And within 6 months, we have tarred road that passed through there. And that was nothing but grace.
Yes.
That was absolutely nothing but grace. And my friends helped me out. And now, what really bothers me the most now is the children. They are our future. And I can see the schools. The schools are completely dilapidated. No teachers, no teaching aid. They're not even computer literate. And I thought about it, I said, wait a minute, well, how can these kids compete, out in the outer world without being computer literate? Majority of their parents cannot even afford to send them to school. So if parents can't send them to school, what's going to happen with them? They're going to become miscreants.
Right.
So early last year, one of the teachers in the secondary school came to me, and she told me, she said, well, Kabiyesi, your Royal Highness, I've been seeing what you've been doing and your effort, and she said, but I have an idea. I said, what? She said, well, a lot of these children, they have the ability. A lot of them want to learn, but then most of their parents cannot afford to send them to school. She said the same thing happened with her. When she finished high school, she couldn't go straight to university because her parents weren't buoyant enough to send her to school. So she learned fashion design. And she learned fashion design for 2 years. After she finished, she bought a sewing machine, and then she started sewing. The money that she made from there, plus whatever little her parents were able to get, she used to sponsor herself in the university. She got her bachelor's degree in education, and she's one of the teachers. So she came to me and said, Kabiyesi, please, if you can, equip us, I know these children will love to learn vocational training, And I said, well, how's it going to happen? She said, I'll volunteer my time, to train them in fashion design. She said, I have another teacher friend who, does confectionery. She does cakes, she cooks, and all that. She said, there's another one that does, hairdressing. And I just smiled. I said, well, do you think this is going to work? She said, yeah, it's going to work. All we need is money, equipment, and everything. I said, okay, I'll oblige. And to the glory of God, I was able to come up with, money, through friends and, what I had. And we launched it. And it's also online. And during the launch, a lot of the kings came and, they supported me. We launched it. And, so we had a temporary place where they're learning. And every day when they leave school, they'll go there. They'll go there for 2-3 hours. But on Saturdays, they go there in the morning and they complete 8 hours. And those kids have been incredible. They are so just seeing the faces, just seeing the happiness on their faces, knowing they're learning some trade that they can use in future just in case they won't be able to go to school. And that makes my life right there. That makes my life. I remember there was a day they sent me a video of their end of year training, and I happened to be in your house.
Yes.
When the message came in, and these kids were so excited, and they were so happy. And I couldn't help myself. I just started crying. They were singing, singing to me, and they were telling me they loved me, they loved the sponsors. I couldn't help but just break down.
Yes.
Yes. So the thing I want to do, I want to construct the vocational training center. The rendering, is going to be on here, and actually it has already started. The work has already started.
Yes.
Because on the 1st of September last year, we had a birthday party right here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I conferred title on some eminent citizens, both Nigerians and Americans. My Chipo Bagunwa was one of them, and in turn they magnanimously dug into their pockets and pledged, and they donated, and they decided that they told me that they were going to be right there until they make sure that we'll get that thing done, and it was just incredible, and the job has started, the work has started. So I basically need your help, no matter what. Not just my community. It's not just children in Idera, but children in all the neighboring communities. And apart from that, we do empowerment. Every year we do empowerment. A lot of people that can't, they don't have any work to do or whatever. Most of them can't even find food to eat. So we distribute food. That's what they call palliatives. We give them food, whatever we can afford, we'll give them. And one of my chiefs here in New York, unfortunately, the chief passed away, Chief Akinyemi. But then the daughter decided she wanted to continue the legacy of her mother. 2 years ago, she decided to do a clothing drive in New York, clothing and toy drive, and she raised a lot of money. They collected clothes and toys and shipped to us in Nigeria, about $5,000 worth, shipped to us in Nigeria. And when we distributed this, you should see the faces of not just the kids, but the elders, because it was, both for the elders and the children. And things like this makes them happy. Once they're happy, I'm happy. Just like he has said, if I have money and my people don't, so who am I? What do I have? Nothing. So that's where we are. So I'm, seeking support. Every little thing, every little bit counts. Whatever it is, whatever little you can afford to, donate, please do. It will go a very long way.
So basically, what we're doing with the website is we're providing a way for everyone to be able to donate. There's no such thing as a donation too small. Mm-hmm. So if you can donate anything, we want to set up a GoFundMe page. We're also going to give you the ability to donate directly to the bank in Nigeria, as well as US dollars. So the purpose of this site is to help get the vocational center off the ground, up and running, for the kids. That's what this is for, the kids. And
it is going to be a continuous thing. It's going to be a continuous, not just for Idera Kingdom, but for all the neighborhoods. We have about 7 kingdoms, right there and in the vicinity, and everybody will benefit from it. And those children, they will not curse. They can only pray for us, and every little blessing goes a long way.
Yes, yes. So that is pretty much the purpose of this video, to introduce everyone to the King and his purpose. This has become his purpose in life, and any help that we can get, again, be it individual, be it organizations, any help that we can get is definitely going to fulfill the dream that the King has. And so we hope that you all enjoyed this video. You got to meet a real king. I know we've been to a few churches here in Louisville, Kentucky, and and the people are amazed to see a real king in their presence, and one as humble as King James. It's
Well, I just thank God for the journey so far, and then the privilege. I mean, because the basic thing is the privilege to be able to come to America, and come to America, see what transpires here, see what happens here, see how people live here compared to how we live there, and the difference is incredible. But then, whatever little difference I can make in the lives of the people over there, maybe that's why God brought me to America in the first place.
Yes.
And so, who am I to say I was going to run away, from fulfilling that, the job that God wanted me to do. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
So what I will do is we're going to give you the ability to get in touch with the king directly. I'm going to put his email address here at the bottom of this video, and you can email him directly.
Not just email on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm on WhatsApp,
Instagram. We're going to
Facebook.
There you go. We're going to put all that information down there so that you can talk to the king himself. You don't have to go through a middleman or anything. I'll put my contact information there in case you need to get in touch with me for any reason. But you can go straight to the source and find out exactly what it is you can do to help the king meet his dream.
I'm usually in the United States at least 3-4 months out of the year. And I used to live in New York, but once I retired from driving the bus. So my children said, "Dad, you've done enough." So, but then I still have to take care of my health,
Yes.
because health is wealth. And what I've put my body through during the wrestling days takes its toll. And on the 11th of September last year, I had a total knee replacement right here in Louisville. And got so good 4 months ago. I'm walking now.
Yes.
Next July they're gonna do the second one, the second knee. So I'll be right back. But then I glorify God for the grace, for the privilege, to be able to do what I'm doing, to be able to come here, take care of my health, go home, take care of my people. You should see even all these old people bowing down. I tell them, don't bow down to me. I mean, who am I? They say, no, we're not bowing to you. We're bowing to the crown. You are the king. We might be older than you. When you talk about 80, 90-year-olds, they're going to be prostrated when they see me. And it humbles me, believe me. It does humble me, But I thank God. I thank God.
Okay. In closing, anything you would like to let everyone know?
Well, hey, the grace of God. The grace of God has brought us so far. And anybody that believes in God and trusts God, whatever He says He's going to do it at His time, in His way, the way He wants to do it. So trust God always. He's going to fulfill whatever it is He has in plan for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, King James Oladipo Buremoh.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Hope you enjoyed the video. Please get in touch if you have any questions.